This afternoon, I met with my spiritual director. We meet about every month to 6 weeks or so. And we were talking about how people were zoomed out, and pretty ironic since we were talking via FaceTime. Because what we meant by people are zoomed out is that we're just tired of meeting digitally, that we're longing for human connection. And I'll be talking more about this in a later sermon, but one question he asked me, and good spiritual directors ask good questions, and he asked me something like this. Since you can't meet with people in person and experience their physical presence, what does that say about your relationship with God, a God you can't see or touch? I thought that was a great question. Hadn't thought about that before, because I have to admit, sometimes prayer feels like a Zoom meeting with God, and I don't mean that glibly, because communication is there, but something is missing. A tangible presence, a multi-dimensional experience that is an intimate interaction. Because sometimes for me, prayer feels as flat as a Zoom screen, a computer screen. Communication, is there, but the experience isn't full. It's not an entire experience. Because God is invisible in so many ways. God doesn't show us an actual physical body that we can see and we can touch. And the physical presence that we crave isn't an immediate way that God is revealed to us. Because that's why faith and doubt are two sides of the same experience. God may be self-revealing, but that takes discernment on our part, asking lots of questions and listening for answers, and answers that may not be immediately forthcoming. And many of the ways that God does show God's self to us are the ways that we are missing right now. In human touch, in daily interactions with others, in communion with creation, in our worship gatherings, in face-to-face conversation, in holding hands while praying. I know we are missing these things terribly. And I can see why many churches are wanting to open even before hearing the guidance of the health authorities, because the family wants to gather together. I get that. Gathering online isn't the same. In the debate over Holy Communion, some have compared virtual communion, although there's nothing virtual about it, I keep saying. They're comparing this to watching a stage production on TV. It's not the same. Because when you're doing so, you're neither watching a movie nor a stage production. It's a different, less satisfying media experience. They say the same is true for virtual communion or online worship. It's neither a movie nor a worship experience. It's not authentic. It's not incarnational, meaning that it's not embodied. However, every evening, my significant other and I, Jessica, we log into the Metropolitan Opera's nightly stream where we watch whatever opera production they are streaming. And I can say, having been to the Metropolitan Opera, been there in person in New York City, the live streams are nothing like the experience. But does that mean that we shouldn't watch these live streams simply because it's not the same as being in the theater, experiencing the production with the dynamics of a live event? Of course not. Excuse me. We've seen some deeply moving and thought-provoking productions, and we've been grateful for that experience. We've engaged that experience as it has been given to us. So what I think this time of quarantine has done is to challenge us to discern God's guidance and hear God's voice in new and fresh and different ways. God hasn't stopped speaking simply because the ways we've used to hearing God, experiencing God, these ways aren't available to us. God is speaking in different forms, and these different forms are not lesser forms. So the question I ask you is this: where are you seeing God in the midst of this global emergency? What hints of the divine are you seeing or hearing? Where have you felt God's presence in your life? Where have you seen God at work in this world? What has the Spirit said to you as you are in quarantine? I invite you to put your thoughts in the comments section below. Amen.